The industry itself is very much independent in terms when it comes to export and their relationships. There are some family farmers who are just mum and dad farmers that don't have the time to put into actually doing their own export. Some of these smaller family farmers may actually sell to some of the larger grower exporters. And I say the word grower exporters because they grow the fruit. They're the family farmer that own the fruit, own the farm, grow the fruit, and they export themselves. So there's quite a number of them, as well as independent exporters that buy fruit from the farmers and export for them. So there's a bit of a mixture, but there's quite a number of grower exporters in our industry. Back in 2005, there was an understanding amongst the growers that there was going to be definitely overproduction for our domestic industry. So the only way we can, it was either stop there or keep expanding, and the only way we could sell that fruit would be by exporting. So we then set out on a fairly strategic approach to ensure that we enabled us to have everything in order to be able to gain market access into a lot of countries. So the priorities were to China, then to Japan, Korea, and improve our other access that we had into other protocol countries like Vietnam, Thailand, Philippines, and so on. So on the back of that, because we had an oversupply for the domestic market, growers became more and more interested in export. There was a lot of work done by the ATGA in terms of educating the growers towards the export scene, and coupled with that, there was a lot of work done in terms of gaining market access and gaining relationships from overseas importers. When we grow grapes, we need the right environment. Australia is very, very fortunate that in an area like Sunraysia, it's semi-arid desert climate. So we have very rich red soils that are very nutritious. We also have, if you like, not an unlimited supply of water, but we have clean water supply from the Murray River under irrigated irrigation. We have very cold winters, but sunny days. So there's cold nights, but reasonably warm days. We have an abundance of sunshine. And that is just basically the perfect recipe for growing table grapes. So cold nights during winter, warm days, and during summer, the heat is extremely dry. So there's not a lot of chance of having any pests, any disease pressure. So based on that, Australia then has a reputation of growing the best quality grapes in the world, or one of the best quality grapes in the world, compared to our Southern Hemisphere competitors. And that reputation is well known throughout all of our exporting countries, particularly throughout Asia. In terms of the look and presentation of our grapes, when you compare that to some overseas countries' grapes, Australia does stand out. And when it comes to taste, Australia is by far the more sweeter and more crunchy grape than compared to our overseas competitors. As a result of that, we have that reputation of being the best in the world, and we've educated the growers along those lines. And that has been the main difference between us and our competitors, and that's what makes us unique in terms of us and our overseas Southern Hemisphere competitors. There's a number of things here. First of all, when you talk about branding, all growers need to register, and they get what we term a TG number, as other industries get their own individual number. The better growers get the reputation because the importers know the TG number, and they know the better growers who supply good quality fruit year round. So the branding is their own, if you like, their individual farm branding, as well as the TG number. I get many importers who will come to me and sit in my office and basically say, here is a list of 20 TG numbers. I want the contact details and I want to go visit them. So there's that type of branding and that type of reputation depending on the quality of the grapes. The other thing that we do constantly is that we will always network with our overseas countries. We will talk to the main importers, retailers, distributors on a continual basis. We will go and visit them every year pre-season. We will have a trade seminar workshop with them. We'll give them a fairly lengthy presentation of how the season is going to pan out in terms of expectation of quality, of supply, of any new varieties, of any new innovative practices that we've introduced to our industry. And we do that pre-season to all of the main importers and distributors. So we're basically branding Australia as being that the best quality grape in the world, and giving all the information up front prior to every season. So there's two types of branding. One is from an individual grower point of view, based on their growing techniques and their presentation and their maturity and quality of grape. And the other one is from an industry point of view, where we will go there and promote Australian grapes and give them all the informative information pre-season. Apart from the trade seminars, workshops that are pre-season that I spoke about, we do participate with Horn Innovation in the Taste Australia program. The Taste Australia program has about a budget of about $2.85 million from Horn Innovation over about 23 industries, of which the table grape industry contributes $1 million to. So we're heavily engaged and heavily involved in international promotion. In fact, I would say maybe 70% of our promotional dollars, maybe even 80% of our promotional dollars goes to international marketing. And we spread that out over a number of countries. And that can be done in the form of social media activities, online activities, but primarily for a number of our Asian countries, we do retail in-store promotional activities through specific peak periods of when we know the grapes are going to be in that country. Every industry is independent and different, obviously. We have very, very good market intelligence based on their history and our longevity of being exporting, of exactly what each country wants in terms of quality, variety, size, and we market accordingly along those lines. And that market intelligence, we certainly do feed back to our growers. So they'll know that if they're going to go, say, to China, they will send our best crimson variety that we have. If we're going to a country such as Indonesia, we'll send our best red globe. So every country has their own specifications in terms of preference of quality, size, and variety of grape. That intelligence is fed through to all the growers. Return to the growers. It's as simple as that. I mean, you look at the domestic price, and the domestic price, just using examples, might be say $2 or $2.50 a kilogram for table grapes. With export, our average price that we've been getting back has been close to $4 a kilo. So if the growers know that if they produce a good quality grape and they have that great presentation in terms of their branding and their look in the box, and they're getting a higher price than our competitors in the market, such as Chile, Peru, South Africa. And that's all provided on providing a good quality mature grape that looks good in terms of presentation. So we really enforce that. The growers know that, and that's why they tend to grow good quality grapes, and that's why they go towards exporting, because of the basic bottom line return to the growers. In the first year, it was established, but just based on our quality, based on our presentation, compared to the other Southern Hemisphere suppliers, that Australian grapes were of a higher quality. And a country like China will pay for good quality product. And so it wasn't a hard sell because of the quality of grape that we deliver over there. But that doesn't mean to say that we can be complacent of that, because all these other overseas countries are getting better at their best practice management in terms of growing grapes. So we continually need to ensure that what the varieties and the quality of grapes we send over there is of the standard that they expect from Australia. In terms of market intelligence, we will send to our growers on a weekly basis the market reports from a number of countries, particularly China. And in those market reports, you can actually see the price per day, per week, that is being received by Chile, by Peru, by South Africa, and by Australia. And you can easily see that Australia is always higher than those overseas countries.
I attended all the trade activities with Jeff Scott from the Australian Table Grape Association when Victorian government, I have to admit, were very good for promoting our industry, or sorry, I shouldn't say promoting, in assisting Jeff to go out and promote our industry. And all the countries we went to, it was amazing that they had a representative there. So I did all the trade marketing with Jeff when he went overseas. So we went to all the different countries. Between Jeff and Victorian government and Austrade, they would have representatives from different customers overseas. We'd attend all those. We'd get up there and we'd give them a background about ourselves and sell ourselves. Then we'd have probably say 20 minutes with each customer. I wasn't just on myself, wasn't there on my own. We had a few other representatives as well from other great companies. I've attended those. They were great. They were really, really great, because when you talk to someone on the phone or talk to someone by email, you could put a face to what you were doing. So that was fantastic. Asia Fruit Logistica is probably one of the biggest pluses. Asia Fruit Logistica in Hong Kong every September. I mean, I haven't had it for 2 years now, but every September is the biggest plus, because everyone from all around the world come to Asia Fruit Logistica. We had a stand, we had our own stand. We set up a stand with Australian Table Grape Association. We sort of didn't want to go on our own. We wanted to be amongst Australian Table Grape Association, because Jeff Scott is known all over the world. It's amazing. So we knew that a lot of people would come to him, and we more or less fed off him, because people would come there, they'd see you, oh, hi, Philip, oh, hi, Charlie, oh, hi. And before you knew it, they'd bring a friend across, and then another friend across, and then they'd see the little house. They'd say, oh, your grape house. So all those sort of things, if they offered anything, if the Vic government or ATGA or anybody offered anything, we always attended, and you might pick up one customer out of, say, 20, and that one customer might be the big plus that you've been looking for. As for disadvantages, I didn't really have many, to be honest with you. I mean, it was tiring, don't get me wrong. You sometimes we did 5 countries, I think it was, in 9 days. Other than that, no, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed meeting the people. Make sure all your compliance is in place. Compliance with Australian government is number one. Number one, make sure you've got all your certificates, make sure your compliance is in place, make sure you've got all your audits in place. The other, if we've got a person who's just employed to look after compliance, and she's full time at it. She does a great job at it. So make sure your compliance is in place. Number one. Number two, you're obviously going to have to go out and get your customers. And number 3, most importantly, try and make sure you're dealing with the ones who pay. I can't give you any advice on how to find that, because we had to just go out there and deal with a lot of different people and get different feels from them. But compliance and paying customers. That's the best advice I can give you. And marketing. If you've got a brand, push your brand. Just like something like that little house that we've got. It's just so important. traveling and meeting people. Traveling, meeting people, getting out there and promoting yourself, your brand, and your name. I learned something about 35 years ago from a guy where he turned around, we were talking one day, and he said to me, he goes, everybody can go everywhere and buy an iPhone. Well, let's say, I'm using an iPhone for an example. Everybody can go out there and buy a box of grapes wherever they want. But you want them to come to Phillip and buy that box of grapes. So promote yourself, promote your company, and promote your logo. So make them want to deal with you at the end of the day. That's what he was telling me at this time, you know. Make them want to come to you. Make them want to know who you are. He goes, and if your honesty and integrity is above everybody else, he goes, you can sell them whatever you want and they will buy it.
Do it, get into it before you know, before you need to start building the relationships as soon as possible, because it'll come a time where the domestic market's oversupplied. Domestic market's very easy. Now, this is definitely more, exports are definitely more challenging, but you need the diversification.
We have a fully open and transparent communication with our buyers. We're talking daily or more. More than, I don't know, even talk more than daily. I guess we talk 3 or 4 times a day about the quality of the fruit. It's just easy through photos and that sort of stuff, or just a general, oh, how's the fruit coming off today? And we just let them know. We're lucky that what we take, we pack, and we just tell them what it is, and then they choose where to position that in the market. So if the fruit's slightly off that day, they'll choose to put it into one of their secondary markets over in China. We just tell them the container number, and they know where to send it. How do you monitor the standards? Well, you see what's in your pocket at the end of the day. If you've got good fruit, you're getting good money. Well, we chose to go long-term with customers. That's been the best decision we ever made. It's tempting sometimes when the Chinese come around with bags of cash, and literally that's what happens. They come around with bags of cash to buy fruit. But we chose to work around that, and whilst I was interested in the cash, I wasn't interested in their terms of trade. And so I'm so glad that we chose long-term business, and it's also like a family sort of business. I know a lot about Michelle's kids over there. She knows a lot about mine, and we're always talking like that. Same with my buyers within Australia. We're very, very good friends. So we can tell each other anything. There's never anything hidden, and by being long-term and just having that long-term focus and just wanting to deal honestly and openly, that's the best decisions that we ever made. COVID has been a killer. It's more been a killer on the supply chain than anything else for us. So I hope that frees up. How everything's going to look, as I've said, our buyers aren't anywhere near happy with the supply that we're giving them at the moment. They want more. So I see it just expanding. And we are taking market share a little bit from overseas, overseas buyers, or overseas suppliers, sorry. But we're also taking market share, as bad as it is, off the smaller grower next to us, because the buyers want to come to a one-stop shop. They want to be able to come to me and say, look, I just want to set a program up where you ship me X amount of containers a week, whereas the smaller growers can't do that. The smaller growers, you were talking before about Singapore and Malaysia and those sorts of places, that's where they can really find a niche, because they can set their own branding up in those smaller markets and supply the smaller amount of fruits to them, and just really focus on producing good quality. And that's how the smaller growers are surviving over here in Australia. they're paring everything back and just focusing on quality. But yeah, back to where we're going to go and export, it's just going to keep going well. There's interesting new market opportunities that are being opened up for Australian fruit. India is one in particular that's looking good. India only takes variety specific for table grapes, but happens to be a variety that's very easy to grow. So I'm definitely interested in pursuing that. Then there's also the US, which is another market that we're looking to start getting some penetration into. And we'll be starting off the same as the avocado guys are there. We're going to have to get used to very, very low prices. I've had conversations with American buyers, and the price that we're talking is going to be very, very low. We'll make that decision. We'll wear that. There'll be a lost leader for us because the investment return will be far greater in the long run.